What's going on, everyone? It's another episode of Left Side Heavy, the podcast presented by Blue Wire. It's your host, Jevin LaFave. Me and Hayden brought on our boy, Ian McNaughton, and we talked so many different things. We talked about this Canadian Soccer Association, labor dispute with the players. Talked about LIV Golf, the Saudi Arabian tour that just started, and they're paying money out the ass for PGA Tour players to come over and play. Players like DJ, Kevin Na, Phil Mickelson, and others resigned from the PGA, so we talk about that. The NHL awards, Bergeron takes home another Selkie. We get more in depth in that, and then we talk about Colorado sweeping Edmonton, Tampa Bay and Rangers, and how that series is going to go, everything that's kind of impacted that, and then we talk a little bit NBA Finals. So we go all over the map this episode. It was a very, very fun episode to record. If you're listening to this, be sure to head to the YouTube, subscribe, where you can watch that instead and see our beautiful faces instead of just our beautiful voices. And if you're on everywhere you get your podcasts, be sure to leave a rating and review. It really helps grow the show. And I'll let you guys enjoy. Peace. It's episode 102, presented by Blue Wire. I'm your host, Jevin LaFave. We got Hayden Barton and our boy, Ian McNaughton Too Hottie from the Speak Your Piece podcast, host of the Speak Your Piece podcast, legend in the game. Great guy all around. How's it going, bud?
You're too kind, man. You're too kind. You're really hyping me up here. I don't know that I deserve it, but I'm not going to say that I'm not. So I am that guy. I'm that guy, pal. I'm that guy, pal.
You are that guy, pal. You are that guy.
Yes, exactly.
You up in Squamish?
Yeah, I'm in Squam. Pretty much just chilling out, vaping, vibing, chilling is the joke that I always use. But just up in Squam, living the dream, living the life.
Living the dream. What have you been up to?
Not a whole lot, really. It's kind of my off season right now with like hockey and such. So I've just been doing a bunch of freelancing stuff. Golfing. I've been hitting the range.
That a boy?
I have had a par in like my last 3 rounds of golf.
Let's go.
Which if you know me, is like actually like pretty impressive. It's
Pars are like your birdies, huh?
Well, and I had like 2 birdies in like my previous.
Oh yeah, I
rounds.
saw that on your story.
Yeah, and so pretty much like, arguably off to my hottest start in a golf year, and like I only golf once a week, and with Scott usually, with my friend of the pod, Scott, fellow host, creator, whatever. Yeah,
recurring guest of the show.
Yeah, recurring guest, and like him and I go out like once a week, and I just fuck around and just,
play a game of whack fuck.
Pretty much. And then like he's actually taking it seriously. And like I've got like 2 birdies out of my last 3 rounds, and I've got a par in my last 3 rounds. So like I'm doing okay.
Now, Hayden, you might be the only one that gets this, but are they birdies or are they Sam Gary birdies?
Fucking Sam Gary, man.
That
guy on TikTok.
Oh,
you see like his new posted video or whatever. He's like, "Oh, this is a tough lie, boys," and it's like right beside a turtle.
Have you seen those videos, Ian?
I don't know those videos, but that sounds like something I would say. It's just like, oh man, I got a tough out here, and it's just like
he literally like gets on the tee box and like fucking just puts everything into his swing on his drive on every shot. And like you'll see the ball go in a completely different direction. He'll go on the fairway. Had to take a drop, boys.
He won't even do that. He'll like take the most aggressive power, like most powerful practice swing. He's like a little warm up. He almost swing his back out. he'll hit it, clearly goes off the hosel or like off the heel, and he'll be like, drove the green, setting up for you. Or like he'll be under a tree and he'll hit it, and then he'll be like, ended up on the green, boys, for birdie. So
I
that's
mean,
why I asked him, like, is it a Sam Gary birdie or a birdie?
no, like I actually like I've actually like had like I think you have I don't know if either one of you guys have played at Squamish, but in 16 in Squamish at Squamish Valley, it's like a par 3 over water. Like you got to carry it over like a pond, and I stuck it like 4 feet from the pin,
Let's go.
like the second to last time out, and like it would have been like closest to the pin, like in like some of the men's tournaments.
Let's go. That's fire, son.
And it's just like, yeah, I meant to do that. I totally
I'm gonna
meant
golf.
to, like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. But and not to do free advertising on here, but I've been drinking Bumper Crop ciders every time I've gone out golfing. So like, shout out Bumper Crop for improving my game.
Hey, maybe you'll be getting a call or email from the LIV Golf Tournament asking you out.
I will take nothing less than 30 million.
Give you the Tiger Woods deal. Do you see how much he was offered?
Oh yeah, like, well, isn't it like DJ now, like just with this LIV Golf thing, is now making more than Tiger has in his entire career in course earnings?
I think with his PGA Tour earnings and the LIV Golf, he's surpassed Tiger in career earnings from golf. But the LIV Golf tourney offered him $900 million to go play in for their golf tourney, or like golf league. $900 million.
Just fucking throwing money around like it's nothing.
How insane is that? Phil Mickelson got 200.
That's insane.
Yeah, well,
DJ got 125.
I was gonna say, we know Phil has some, things that he needs to get taken care of. So
hey, he released an apology statement. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
No, it's pretty fucking bad. So I do admit.
What are your guys' thoughts on the LIV Golf situation and like how that's all unfolding?
Oh man, it's a development in the I don't even know what you said. It's like a development for the ages, I guess. It's so weird seeing that, Phil, specifically, if we're just talking about Phil, he's ending his whole relationship with the PGA, and it's just like, oh my God. And now, like Ian said with DJ, he can't I just saw one thing. It's like, yeah, he can't participate in the Ryder or President's Cup. And it's like, Jesus Christ.
I like the meme where DJ, it's like DJ signs up for LIV Golf or whatever. It's like, screw it. I didn't even know what RBC stood for. Who cares if I lose if I was a sponsor? But somebody I follow on Twitter, Kevin Clark, he worked for The Ringer. He actually brought up, I thought, a really good point where it's like, LIV Golf doesn't solve any of golf's problems. It literally accomplishes nothing outside of just throwing money at like the most popular golfers and having them come play on your tour. That's all this is. It's just attracting celebrities or the big names, and we're just making a golf tournament out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I think that in a way that's kind of where golf is heading, where like, the match gets like a lot, like one match or two matches a year, that kind of thing gets a lot of publicity, gets a lot of social cred, gets a lot of engagement for like a week or a weekend or whatever. And maybe that's the LIV Golf way. Maybe that's what they're going for. But I kind of agree with Kevin Clark, where it's like, they're not really fixing anything. They're just you're just throwing a whole bunch of money at celebrities and asking them to come play for them, and they are.
Do you blame any of them because they had to resign their PGA Tour membership or whatever it is? Do you blame them for taking $125 million to go play? Because like, if DJ, he's kind of a guy to like, his give a shit meter is really low. So it's just like I'm here to do one thing and one thing only, and that's make money. And if I win tournaments along, if I like win majors along the way, sweet. If not, because the thing is, he can still play in every major there is. Maybe not the PGA, but the US Open, the Masters, and the US Open, or like the Open, British Open.
Yeah.
Now just the Open, US Open, and Masters. They're all like independent, but they're like the majors. So he can still play in those. But like, do you blame them for taking the money?
I think it's kind of a legacy thing. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's more what this is, of just like, okay, so you're more into it for the money than you are the actual golf. And I think it also matters who you're taking this money from. Like, I do think there's something to be said for, you know, this is coming from, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a Saudi Arabian group
Yeah.
who more or less they've been trying to whitewash, their country with sports, which is why you see like Formula One there. We've seen WWE there. We're now we're doing live golf. It's just like, I think you can blame them because of who they're taking it. It's a morals thing. Like,
Yeah.
who you're taking this money from. I get trying to get the bag as soon and as early as possible, because if you have the opportunity to do so, 90% of us are probably going to do so. But I think that it also should be said who you're taking this money from, and who is paying these people.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Hayden?
I mean, it's kind of just like anything with people, chasing the bag. You could say all you want. And one thing that really popped into my head was when Tyreek Hill was being questioned and was just like, oh, so do you plan to stick around in Kansas City? And paraphrasing here, but he's like, oh, yeah, like we're going to win 7 Super Bowls or something like that. Next offseason, what does he do? What does he do? He follows the money, and it's just like, Phil's on his back end of his career. DJ is probably just like, I have everything that I ever wanted in the world. I've won so many of these championships already. Let's just go and get the bag. And I do agree with what Ian's saying though about like what LIV is doing. They're doing everything, it seems like, in the wrong way by just throwing money at them. So now it's just a question of who are they going to throw the money at next?
They're trying to become the PGA Tour, just way more expensive.
Exactly. And I don't think that's the way to go around. Like, I haven't even heard of anything like, are they being televised?
No, it's streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and something else, and their actual website.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to tune in for something that I have to like stream. You know what I mean?
Like,
It feels like, in a way, like the Paul brothers boxing. Like that's what this kind of feels like to me, where it's just like a lot of hype, a lot of publicity, and those guys, talk about how they're willing to throw so much money at Conor McGregor to box, or Tyrone Woodley is like another guy like recently who's collected a big paycheck for them. Like, that's kind of what this feels like, is just throwing a bunch of money at people and doing it for hype and prestige more than the actual product they're putting out there.
yeah, that's a good point. Like Chase Koepka, who's buried in the trenches of the PGA Tour, got $6 million to go over to Saudi Arabia and play. Chase Koepka, I didn't even know Brooks Koepka had a brother.
I didn't either.
And I didn't know he was actually like on the tour, but he was, and he got $6 million to go over there. So it's like, man, I mean, like, it's definitely an interesting situation. And I think it's like Phil, I kind of under like it's people like Lee Westwood, Sergio Garcia, like the Kevin Na, maybe not Kevin Na, but like they're kind of on the tail end. And it's like, how much more are they actually going to win? How much more are they going to make on PGA? Did they really gain like a massive legacy within the PGA Tour, where if they take this, it's going to be extremely tarnished? I don't think so. where it's like at my age, how much more am I gonna actually win? And let's just chase like where I've made my entire career earnings on the PGA Tour with one check from this tour. Like why not do it? Dustin Johnson's in a weird situation where he's like turning 38 in like 2 months, but it's still like he's a top 10 player in the world. So he still kind of carries that legacy and like face of the PGA where it's like stands out that he's leaving. But also like Kevin Na, like he's not great, but he's not bad. But it's like, how much is he actually going to make? How much more money is he going to make on PGA Tour? Like the purses aren't that big for a player of his caliber. So I kind of see him leaving because he's like, I'm going to make what I need a family to support. And none of this is, if I can take the guaranteed money from the Saudi Arabian League or tour, where like nothing is guaranteed on the PGA Tour, I got people to support. So I can kind of see it in terms of what situation are you in. So it's such an interesting seesaw to teeter on. So we'll see how it goes, but I want to check it out just to see what it's like, but I don't know.
I think there'll be a lot of interest probably for their first event. I think there'll be a lot of interest in people tuning in to see like, okay, what is this act? Because it's like it's based on teams, right?
Yeah.
It's based on like teams, and there's like 4 players on each team.
Yeah. So it's a little bit different.
It's a bit of a weird. I shouldn't say weird. Weird's not the right term, but it's not a concept that we're usually used to and what we're usually seeing on the PGA. But I'm sure they're going to get a lot of people tuning in on the first weekend or first event. Like, let's see what this is about.
Like
see how it goes.
Which Thursday gets more views, the RBC or the LIV Tour?
Oh, by the way, the Lightning just scored.
Yep, 2-0.
I was gonna say probably the LIV Tour gets more than the RBC, because again, people don't even know what RBC stands for. So it's just like you got McElroy, Thomas, like you got a good field up in the RBC. It's just a matter of like, it's the RBC.
I don't know. I feel like the RBC would get more only because it's
of convenience.
Exactly.
It's on cable, it's on TV.
Like,
yeah.
I can guarantee you my dad's not gonna try and search up the fucking LIV Tour.
LIV. Dad, you have to say
Dad, Google. You have to say, okay, Google.
Google,
why LIV? Like, no, it's just
but I was gonna say that's the demo that LIV's trying to hit, right? It's trying to hit like people our age who are tech savvy, who know how to pull this up, and who are gonna put like LIV on in the background of what we're studying or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing about the PGA Tour as well, is that they don't make their money on the Thursday, Friday. It's the Sunday afternoon when you're lying on your couch, kind of half asleep, moving day, and like lying on your couch half asleep. Like, I have chores to do, but golf is on, so I might as well watch the golf, right? Like,
Let me just have one more coffee. Ian, This is your 5th coffee today.
I will, mow the lawn at some point here, but
I will get to it.
Patrick Reed is moving up on, he's 2 shots back.
He's fluffing the sand over there. I can see it.
Yeah, like could make it interesting.
He's doing the old rake in place, raking the bunker and placing it.
No, these bunkers are like fucking cement. I have to rake in place over here. Look, they got weeds growing in this shit.
He's teeing it up on the fairway.
As Arnie Palmer said, the best way to shoot is off of a tee. Okay, I'm not missing a chance.
Oh gosh, but yeah, that's our golf talk to start off the podcast. We're buzzing out of the gates here, but how about a little? Let's talk some money still. Hey, why not, boys? Canada.
I like money.
Canada Soccer Association, CSA. I don't even know if that's the right acronym for it. I'll be honest. I don't even know if it's CSA, but we're doing it. Canadian Soccer Association. So for every team that makes the World Cup, you receive a sum of money. I'm not too sure if it's like the same for every country or whatever. I'm assuming the countries who are like on like the Ring of Honor per se, like England, Brazil, like those countries, they probably earn more. But Canada got $10 million and decided to only give 10% of it to the players. And then for every player on a World Cup team, they get to give 5 tickets to family and friends for each game. And Canada's only given their players 2. So they went on strike. What are your guys' thoughts on that whole entire situation? Ian, I'll start with you.
Oh, okay.
Fuck you, Aiden.
I was gonna say I
No, I'm
haven't
kidding.
I
I'm
haven't
kidding,
seen like seen or read anything about this. I have not heard anything about this at all. And so Ian, yeah, please take it away.
I mean, I love me a good labor dispute as much as the next person. That's why I'm a big hockey fan, is because I just love every 10 years that there's a labor dispute. It's so cool. I think the players are right in asking for a fair shake and
100%.
a fair stake in whatever they're making. Like, what I don't understand is why it has to be so complicated. Like, just give the players what they want. Just like, and I get that not every player is like Alphonso Davies, who's playing over in Europe, and he's, he doesn't really need this. He's already making more in Europe playing for his club team than he is for his international team. But I mean, like, it can't be that hard to figure out what the players can take home, especially like when you're this close to the World Cup.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you're like this close to making it, it shouldn't be that hard to make it all happen. But again, I'm not in the business of labor negotiations, and I'm not fighting for one side or the other. And I'm more or less a pro player person when it comes to these situations. But this just seems like a completely avoidable dispute that could have been hashed out a while ago. And we're talking about Canada not playing games. Although I think they said they're supposed to play on Thursday against Curacao. Still,
yeah.
Point is, this could have been avoided. And you guys really need to get your shit together.
Yeah, because I just think it's insane where it's like, why are you giving them such a small sum of it? It's like they're saying they should just be grateful they're playing for Canada, but it's like without the players, you're not in the fucking World Cup, you dinguses. You don't get this without the players. Why you cut them a bit more? Even if it's 18%, even if it's like 20%, just double it. Like, let's just, why do you start at 10%? Like, that just seems ridiculous to me. And now there's like, because it's not just under men's soccer, the Canadian Soccer Association. I'm still not sure if that's right. But Christine Sinclair is advocating for like the same thing that the American women's soccer team ended up getting, the same pay as the men's team. Because in a sense, the Canadian women's team has been far more successful than the men's team. They should be getting more money than our men's team. Does that not make sense? Like, they should get at least the same amount. So like, that's also an ongoing negotiation too, is like Christine is advocating for the women's team to be paid the same, which I am totally for, because there's proof that they've just been more relevant than our men's national team. So there's just a whole ton of situations going on, and it couldn't come at a worse time just 5 months before the World Cup.
And I know somebody brought up, I don't know who, but somebody brought up in one of these press releases about percentages being a factor. It's like, no, people are like literally just talking about equal pay. Like, whatever the men's team makes, the women's team should make. Which, I mean, in Canada's perspective, that's fair, since Canada women's team is, like you say, Jevin, way more successful than the men's team has ever been, especially in my lifetime. So, it shouldn't be that hard. And I think there's also something to be said for people not trusting Canada Soccer Association or like the actual whatever the owner equivalent is in a situation, or whatever the bigger organization is, where people are just like, oh, you're going to get all this money, but what are you going to do with it? And I think 9 times out of 10, it's people will just find a way to pocket it, or won't, put it back into Canada Soccer, which is frustrating. That's why the players are like, hey, if you just give us the money, then we won't have to worry about you guys either pocketing, or the players will make sure that the money goes back into Canada Soccer.
Yeah. So Ian, is this Thursday match just a friendly, or is it part of the Nations tournament?
No, I believe it should all just warm up matches, because they were supposed to play. Well,
Panama.
originally they were
Iran.
supposed to play Iran, and then that didn't, go over well. And then they're like, okay, Panama, you can come. And Panama literally only got a practice at BC Place, and then they got sent home. And now it's supposed to be Curacao. And I think there's I want to say 2 or 3 other warm-up matches that they had scheduled outside of this. But
because I was listening to Overdrive earlier today, and they were saying that, and Matthew Shinetti, a part of TSN, said that the Nations tournament for teams, I think within the World Cup, it's like a warm-up tournament. If you withdraw from that, then you get fined for not participating, which would then impact none of the players, just the association that team is under, which is the CSA.
mm-hmm.
So, but nothing is really impacted with warm-up matches. So that's why they have no worry about skipping these. That's why I was wondering if that is it Curacao, you said?
Curacao. And it looks like, according to the Canada Soccer Wikipedia, this past, the match that they were supposed to have against Panama was a friendly, but this one on Thursday, on June 9th against Curacao, is a Nations game. It's a league.
Okay, yeah.
So that they have to play.
Yeah. So if they don't play in that, then the CSA gets docked money. So that would really, if they did not want to play in that, then that would really I think it would create it would tarnish a ton, and it would almost make things worse. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
I was gonna say things are already really bad right now. Things are already really bad from a PR perspective with Canada Soccer, and then when you start canceling, anytime you're canceling games, it's just a bad luck.
Yeah,
and the more games you cancel, it's even worse. So if they can get playing ASAP, then it's good for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Hayden, we'll talk about a little different kind of football, because you didn't know anything about that. But Aaron Donald restructures his contract. I think, is it 2 more, or it's through 2024, and he's guaranteed $95 million. What are your boys' thoughts on that? Because it was that or retirement for him, right? So it's where the fuck are the Rams getting this money from? But what are your thoughts, Hayden?
Oh man, it's pretty fucking insane. And I mean, the money, it's just all being pushed down the road. It's just yeah, you know what? Like Deshaun Watson. Oh, well, we'll make you count for $1 million this year, but then we'll give you a whatever $1 million signing bonus so that you get your money, but you don't account for the salary cap. It's working its way around. There's no better defensive player that deserves it at all in the league of football or the NFL. And the highest non-paid quarterback, which is absolutely insane.
And deservingly so. The guy's a freak.
Mm-hmm.
He should not be able to move that quick at his size. It's insane.
I saw a very interesting stat today on Twitter, actually, and it was comparing 2 specific sports players. Now, I'm not going to get the baseball player's name right, but what I will get right is his accolades from 2016 to now. So this baseball player, he won Rookie of the Month in December of 2016, and then won Rookie of the Month or not December, sorry. One of the months, whatever they play baseball in, I'm not too sure, but he won 2 Rookie of the Months, and then hasn't won anything since. Now, guess how much money, or guess how much he signed a contract for? $95 million. No other accolades. So then you look at Aaron Donald, defensive rookie of the year, how many fucking Pro Bowls he's been to, how many first team All Pros that he has, defensive player of the year awards, like, and a Super Bowl champion. Like,
and you could argue he could have won Super Bowl MVP. That game too.
arguably could have won. So it's just the bigger question for me sometimes about where does money come from, because we all know football here is king. You know, like the viewership that it gets is absolutely insane. And I'm just wondering, like, does anybody actually watch baseball as much as they watch football? Because, like, where the fuck are baseball players getting, or where the fuck is the MLB getting this sort of revenue to really push it all into their players, you know? That's just what baffles me.
Well, I think it's like with the MLB, there's no salary cap. It's like a luxury tax on all teams. So it's like you can just, as long as you can afford a player, you can have so many players with like making $200 million.
But like, how do they afford players? Like,
dude, their owners are like billionaires. Can't they just like, hey, can I just get a check, please?
Is that all they do?
I can't.
Surely a
I
baseball
can't say. I'm not
surely like a
sure.
baseball owner then is just losing money, because that there's no way that they retain like over $1 billion, maybe like over $2 billion of revenue. Like, there's no way that they do, right?
I mean, there's 164 games in a season.
I know, but like,
so like it's
but you're
people do watch baseball too. So it's definitely weird. Back to the money thing too.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun. But Ian, what are your thoughts on everything?
I watch baseball. I've been to 2 Manners games this year.
How much did that cost you?
The actual tickets,
Yes.
but I think they cost me like $20 for like 2 games. Like, it was $10 each.
Like,
but baseball makes their money from like local TV rights and national TV rights. Like that's how they make most of their money.
just blows my mind.
Hey man, I mean, I'm not a financial expert, but you know,
like, I know there's
fair
a
enough.
salary cap with the NFL, but it's been proven by multiple teams that you can just push money down the road. And then as the salary cap grows each year, like Patrick Mahomes' contract in 10 years is going to look like nothing. It's going to be like, wow, that was a steal.
Yeah,
Just because of how much it's going to inflate.
it's insane.
And
Which is why the Broncos should re-sign Russell Wilson already. I think that's a wise move.
I think, what did he want? Like 5 years, almost more than like Deshaun Watson or something like that?
I think he wants like 5 years and like 250 million guaranteed.
Yeah. The guaranteed part is stupid. Like, no team, like Cleveland, no team should ever sign a fully guaranteed deal. It's so risky. But sorry, Jeff. Yeah.
Well, we'll go into some hockey talk and shenanigans here. NHL awards have been announced, and don't think I've talked about a ton of them, but I'll ring through some of the ones that have been announced. Kyle Connor of the Jets has won the Lady Byng for most disciplined player, if I'm not mistaken. Least amount of penalty minutes, or not least amount, just whatever. Patrice Bergeron has won his 5th Selke Award, most NHL history. Carey Price won the Masterton to exemplify perseverance. Daryl Sutter wins the Jack Adams Coach of the Year. Andrei Kopitar wins the Messier Award, exemplifying leadership. And Subban wins the Clancy Award, leadership on and off the ice and helping his community. Any thoughts on those awards, gentlemen?
One thing I do kind of find weird about the way that the NHL and the like NBA do their awards. Or maybe it's just because I'm thinking so much about football, but why don't they just make it like one big night where they announce all of the winners? Because
They usually do. They usually did,
I
but
think
Do
they
they?
used to. They used to, but now I think they're just. I think I think now they just announce it because it just saves a whole bunch of time and energy.
I also
I don't know.
think
I like the whole event of like it being announced, like let's just say the NFL, right? How they do like the comeback player of the year to, and then they work it up to the MVP.
I think COVID hit and they started doing this, if I'm not
I,
mistaken.
I think you're right, Jevin.
Yeah.
Can I also just say, listen, I don't think I've watched an award show ever outside of the ESPYs, and even the ESPYs I haven't watched for years. But like, I was never gonna watch an NHL award show. Hell, I don't even watch the NFL award show like the night before because typically I'm out with friends, kind of getting shit faced on Saturday night before the Super Bowl. I'm not exactly sitting down like, oh yeah, I hope Patrick Mahomes gets the MVP. Like, no, I don't really
No,
care. It's just
that's totally fair, and I totally understand exactly where you're coming from, Ian. Like I've personally never watched one either, but it's just like why delay it so much, or why break it up into like so many different weeks? It's just get it all over at once. No,
I like the evening. They kind of have like some shows. It's nice like background noise to have on. And I do like the suspense. Like I do like the suspense of like having it in like a like Radio City or something like Radio City Music Hall and like having the suspense and like all the nominees are there. I think it's just better than like a Zoom call, but
Mhm.
I understand the convenience factor where like I don't want to have to fly out to New York to go sit and not win. Like,
yeah,
you know
like
what I'm
if we
saying?
did if we did
Yeah.
it this year where it's like with the NHL where it's like everybody flying down to Vegas and like, you know, I'm trying to think like Dylan Larkin, for example, gets nominated for a Selkie, but he knows he's not winning it because everybody knows Patrice Bergeron's winning a Selkie. It's like I didn't have to be here.
Like
Not to say,
The Vesna.
yeah.
Markstrom and who else is nominated except Igor? Who's the other Vesna?
With the Saros who got nominated.
Yeah, Saros. They know they're not winning it. Why the fuck would they show up? Like, do they get paid if they showed up? Like,
Surely you must get
is
like some sort of check.
is it like the
You get a
All-Star game where it's like you get fined or whatever if you don't show up to the All-Star game? Like you get suspended a game if you don't show up to the All-Star game? Is there something if you don't show up to the awards night? Because like why would Markstrom and Saros show up? It's like Igor's up for the Hart. He's clearly not losing the Vesna, right? So that would suck. So I kind of understand. It's like, hey, let me just like sit here for 20 minutes and then get it over with, and then let me get the fuck out of here.
I think that's prime. Like if you're like Markstrom or Saros or a guy nominated for the Selkie not named Patrice Bergeron, I think that's prime. I'm just gonna get shit faced like and take all these free booze and then just watch the show.
Yeah.
I think that's what that is.
Yeah. No, I think I would still probably have fun and go. I just like nights out.
Right. And
Yeah,
what
I
are
think
you
so.
doing if you're a fucking millionaire anyways?
Yeah.
Just chill out at home? Oh no, just come fly out here and we'll have a fucking night for it.
Yeah.
Spending time with my wife and kids. I mean, you probably have to bring your wife, but like kids, yeah, you just get a babysitter and you just spend like 2 days in Vegas and then you call it good. Like that's I think the move. If you're somebody who's nominated and you know you're not going to win, you just make a night of it.
Well,
Funny.
Brady went through that for 15 minutes and unretired from football. So, so
You make a good point.
should we talk some playoffs, boys?
Let's
Edmonton, Colorado. Colorado sweeps.
bring out the brooms, baby.
Bring out the brooms. This series was pretty exciting. Probably the most exciting sweep I've seen. And the most exciting game 4 to end up being the sweeping game. It was unbelievable. This series was a lot of fun. Ian, what were your thoughts on the series overall?
You and I talked like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago about how like I said the Battle of Alberta was like meth, I just thought it was that addictive. This is like nicotine. It's not quite the same as the Battle of Alberta, but still addictive. I really enjoyed this. It was good hockey. Even that fourth game where like you think Edmonton might survive another day, and then Colorado's like, no, we're just done with it. Screw you guys. We don't want to play another game against you in this conference finals. It was pretty competitive outside of game 2, like pretty competitive series. And even then, like the Avs scored 3 goals in 2 minutes in game 2. Like I thought it was really good. I thought it was really fun. We need more of that.
Yeah. Hayden?
No, basically the same thing. I mean, I know you and I were kind of Snapchatting through it, and I was at the gym for the first little bit, and then I saw after period 1, Colorado was up 1-0, and I was just like, fuck no, like, come on, Edmonton. And then Edmonton had a great period number 2, and then Colorado had an even better period number 3. And I just remember looking at my phone with like 8 minutes to go, and it's tied. And then, or no, it was like 12, and it was 4-3. And then it was 4-4, and then it was 5-4. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? All in the third. And then it was 5-5 in overtime. And I'm like on the couch, and sadly I don't have any like NHL streaming service. So I was just kind of like scrolling through the score, and I was watching the Aaron Hernandez documentary, and then I like take a look again, and it goes like 18-40, and then I see the Avalanche are up 6-5, and I'm like, a minute and a half is all it took in overtime? What the fuck? Just absolutely electrifying, though. Just it really made me feel, I wasn't even watching it, and I felt it was like my heart was racing,
Yeah.
It was sad because what Cup hasn't been in Canada in 30 years, and
29 now. It's been
is it
29 years.
Well, fuck. I mean, and obviously McDavid's not getting any fucking younger now, and I know he's a still young guy, but it's just,
How many more years of his prime does he have left?
exactly, like how many more years are we gonna get to see McDavid just absolutely put a team where almost everyone accounted the Oilers out, and then they just go and fucking spank Calgary, and it's just, there's always next year, but it's just, can they do it next year? Is Smith gone next year, or do they get a new goalie? Like, what happens?
They have to get a new goalie, but
Have to.
yeah, I want to rewind to game 3. Kane cross-checks Kadri from behind. Kadri is then out. Kane gets a 5-minute penalty. This was just after Edmonton goes up 1-0, like 30 seconds into the game. Edmonton has all the momentum, down 2-0. Like, you got to win this game. This is a must win. And then Kane, like a minute later, after McDavid puts him up 1-0, takes all the air out of the arena and hits Kadri from behind, knocks him out. People are saying karma, all that. But Kane is then assessed a 1-game suspension after the game. What are your thoughts on the entire like hit and then suspension afterwards?
I mean, for myself personally, that was the clearest running through the stop sign I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, for those who don't know, like if you used to play junior hockey, we always had, or minor hockey, we always had like stop signs like on the back of our jerseys, like to make sure that kids weren't cross-checking. And Kane just went through him. He basically boarded him. It's not wrong. Like, I don't think any of that is wrong. He did board him. Bit of a dirty hit. And it's kind of unfortunate that Kadri got injured in it all. But I think it was the right call. I think it was the right, at the time, getting both the 5-minute and the suspension. I think we're both right. Again, it's just, they're trying to get that stuff out of hockey, and it's not easy. But if we're trying to, make the game safer and, trying to reduce injuries, then you have to suspend guys.
Yeah,
Then you have to make this difficult decisions like that. So
I agree. Hayden?
Yeah, no, I think we're all in agreement on this one too. Like it's just danger. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like it could really put someone's life in a different situation. And, if one thing goes a different way, knock on wood, it never does go to the absolute worst of the worst. But one day something like that's going to happen, and something super, super tragic is going to happen. And it's going to be like, well, now this part's out of the game. And now if you do any sort of thing like this, then yeah, you're getting suspended for a third of the season or something ridiculous, like it's just, yeah, you can't have that shit.
Yeah, I think even though I didn't see the game go more than 2 games after game 3, like I think it was done in 5, like no later.
Regardless,
I think the stamp of only suspending him for 1 game was a bad look. I think he should have gotten at least 2 to 3 games at least. It's not like Kadri turned last minute and Kane was already in the motion of hitting him. Kane skated towards him when Kadri had his back turned to him, and he still did what he did. Like, Kane, I don't give a shit that you were anticipating a reverse hit. You can't anticipate anything. You can't assume anything. You still did what you were trying to do. And it's like it was just not a smart play. It was an idiotic play. It was a selfish play. He's an idiot for doing that. It's like you said, Ian, he hit it like nail on the head. Like those are the hits we're trying to get out of hockey. Like, what are you still doing? Do you realize how short your leash is? Dude, we know you're leading the postseason in scoring and you're on like a 50-goal pace, but like it's shit like this that are gonna stem teams away from signing you. Like
Yeah.
you need
Yeah.
all the help you can get when it comes to money and as big and long of a contract as possible. Shit like that is going to tarnish it. And like, it's just a dumb play on a near elimination game. There's no reason for throwing that hit around. I don't care who was on the receiving end of it. Doesn't matter. It was just a dumb play. And I think he should have got more games for it. I know he's out of the series anyway, but it was just, it was a terrible play. But
so if he were to get a, like, let's say 4-game suspension or 2-game suspension, would that relay over into next year?
you see, that's
Yeah.
does it
Okay.
relay over?
I'm pretty sure it does.
Yeah.
I would think so.
Unless they were to say like a playoffs only suspension.
I think you can do that as well. But
Like you can do suspended for the rest of the playoffs, however long that is.
But didn't Mark Scheifele remember last year when he basically ran Jacob Evans? And then he still had to miss the first game of this season because he still had a suspension left over.
That is true. Yeah, 100%.
So I'm sure you could do a playoff only. I think that's happened before. I think we see that more with like Hockey Canada and World Juniors or like double IHF stuff where like
Max Domi of like years ago got a suspension in preseason and he just said like suspended for the rest of preseason. So
yeah, I think
that's like a slotted amount of games. Like, how many games that is. Whereas playoffs, it could be 1 game clearly, or it could be the rest of the first round and then 7 games in the second round, where it could be a 10-game suspension.
It's up to the NHL's discretion or the PA or whoever. Like it's up to their discretion on it. But typically if you're getting like if Kane got suspended for 3 games, he would have to serve 2 next season.
Yeah. But Kane got thumb surgery, so it was his hand or his thumb that got hurt. It is like probable that he's out for the remainder of the postseason, but they're not ruling him completely out for sure. There's a chance he returns. But poor Kadri, because that guy is having a Conn Smythe type of playoffs. And it just sucks. Like everyone in Colorado's they're so nasty and deep. McCarr, McKinnon, Rantanen's starting to heat up now, which is Rantanen had like one goal prior to this. It was like an empty netter prior to the series, and now he's starting to heat up. He's starting to score. Devin Taves is the most underrated player in NHL history. This guy is unbelievable. And it's like they just shut them down. Like just like the superstars and just like Colorado in general, like watching them, like how entertained were you just watching them play the game of hockey?
I mean, they're the closest thing to, I mean, them in Tampa are like the closest thing to an all-star team, right?
Yeah.
They're and a guy I really love is Bowen Byram.
Oh my gosh, he's a dog.
He's a dog, and he's played what 15, 16 minutes a night,
Yeah.
and he's McCarr light.
It's
Like,
ridiculous. It's
he's
never
so
ending with this
good.
team.
So good, so impressive. You know, even Francois is like one of the guys I like have like a little bit of concern, doubt about, and he posted a shutout.
Yeah.
He that's just how good he is too.
Hayden?
What are you gonna do?
I don't know, man. It's crazy. Like when I was first, starting to watch these playoffs, it was like, Tampa, they're kind of on like the and Colorado is like the heavy favorite, easily the heaviest favorite of them all, Jeff. And I remember you calling them out at like the start of this whole playoffs. You're like, yeah, I'm choosing Colorado to be in the finals. Like, I just think it's the year of the favorites. And it was the year of the favorites for the West. And you look at the Avalanche and you look at Tampa, and they're both like, they're almost like a mirror image of each other just because of how much or how deep they are. And then, yeah, like Ian was saying, like their goalies too. I know Vasilevsky is like a different breed right now, but I mean, if Kemper gets back, like how do you even go about that? Like, do you have like a safe number 2 or number 3, or like is your number 1? There's so many just options that either team has.
Yeah.
And it's just insane.
Well, question for both of you guys, because I have this as a point here. How will their goaltending hold up in the Cup final, regardless going against Tampa or New York? Like, is it a serious concern? Because for Colorado, you're going up against Bastier Sturkin and Kemper or Francois. Like, neither of them are near close to that level. So, like, how are they going to hold up? Like, is it going to be high scoring both ways, or like is Colorado going to lose the cup because their goaltending simply is it going to live up to either New York or Tampa's? Like, what's going to happen?
I mean, it's got to kind of feel like it resonates toward that, just because it's like, oh yeah, they're not as good as Shesterkin, or they're not as good as Vasilevsky, so maybe that pressure weighs on their shoulders. But you got to imagine if they're in this moment right now, they can handle it.
Yeah.
They probably have been some sort of field tested, before back in their day. And it's like, this, I can kind of relate this as this moment. And I did really well here, so let me just play like that. So that's where I kind of look at it. But I mean, everyone's different, right?
Yeah.
I think with Colorado, you almost want to just outscore your opponent, whoever that is. Like we've seen in this Rangers Lightning series where the Lightning have been struggling with New York speed, and Colorado has more speed than anybody in the league. Like if there's a team that can play run and gun and can just outskate Tampa or the Rangers, it's probably the Avs. And maybe they just do the Edmonton thing of like, yeah, we know our goaltending isn't great, but we're still going to put 5 or 6 goals on you by the end of the night. So good luck.
It's just a question is if they're going to even be able to put 5, because Shesterkin's like barely lets in more than 3 goals a night. Vasilevsky, I like the first couple of games were an outlier for him. Now he's like starting to get warmed up after that rest from the Florida series. Colorado just swept, so they're almost going to have maybe too much time off. they almost wish that New York swept Tampa so that they could get started right away. Like I just like I'm kind of worried about Colorado just because just their goaltending is like it might just not be up to par with Tampa and New York's scoring goaltending tandem. Like, are they just going to pull a David Ayers situation and just clamp up a little bit more on defense and then let their counterattacks of speed up front just kind of take over?
Win with the transition game. That's an
Yeah.
option. I think with Bassey too, we've like what I've seen this postseason is like I think you can beat Bassey by just putting traffic in front. Like if you can just put, I don't know who on Colorado. I mean, Kadri would be this guy if Kadri was still playing. But who's that Chris Kreider for them of like dude who just stands in front of the net, screens, you know, impacts Bassey's vision. I don't know who that guy is. Maybe that's Val Nichushkin. I don't know.
That's
like,
what I was thinking, of Chushkin or like Belmar or something.
So if somebody on Colorado can be that Chris Kreider, could be that not that he played Tampa, but like Zach Hyman type, where Zach Hyman did a really nice job of just establishing himself either in front of the net or at the edge of the post so that any shot that went wide, it just went off Hyman and Hyman could knock it in. Yeah. Somebody on Colorado has to do that against Bassey, even Igor, make Igor's life miserable. I'm curious to see if Colorado does that because I think that's their best chance of winning instead of just clamping down and playing boring defensive hockey. I don't think that's how they like to play, so I don't think they'll win as a result of that.
I don't think they'll necessarily play that like boring defensive hockey, but just maybe just send 3 guys down instead of like 2-1-2, like have kind of just 3 guys below the offense just to kind of solidify it a bit more, but still have that chance to kind of like break out. But I wanted to ask you guys about the Lehkonen goal. So obviously Twitter was going crazy, refs versus Oilers, like that's what it is now. As soon as a team wins, people say refs versus blank against the losing team. Like that's always how it is.
It was the refs versus the Flames in the last round, right?
Yeah, it's just like, man, oh man, like give it up. Like, yes, calls don't go your way. It's been like this the entire season. Give it up. Like some things aren't going to move the needle that much. So, but the Lehkonen goal, a lot of people were saying it was like a high stick, like it was bullshit, whatever. But I don't know if you heard the Friedman breakdown. If it went straight in, it would have been a high, the stick has to be below the crossbar. But if it doesn't go in, then it just even or below the shoulder. But since it went off Mike Smith first, they were judging the shoulder, not the crossbar. And where the puck made contact, holy shit, boys, a millimeter higher, that's a high sticking. It was dead even with his shoulder. And they showed where the puck changed direction. Like they showed it right at impact. And they drew a straight line across the TV. It was dead even with his shoulder. It was like proof was in the pudding right there. It's like, okay, it wasn't a high sticking. Kiss our ass, Edmonton. Like it is, keep complaining, but that was not a high stick. Yeah, I saw the reflection here of my screen that Tampa scored, but it wasn't a high stick. Lehkonen for the second straight year sends his team to the Stanley Cup final. Could be against Tampa again. How funny is that? That'd 2 straight years of sending your team to play Tampa in the final. But no, it was just a crazy, crazy thing. But like, just like, what was your reaction to like the whole like debacle of like the Lehkonen goal high sticking thing and just like the reffing situation, these playoffs overall?
Kind of what like Ian was saying on his podcast with you, Jeff, about just like letting shit go or like letting goals just go in. it's I almost like kind of agreed with you, Ian, with what you were saying. Like just especially playoff hockey too, like you can't have the refs be such a big part of a game. Like, yeah, you got to make the right call, but if it's not like blatantly obvious that there's not enough to overturn it, just everyone has to realize like that's how it's gonna be. They got to just let it go. And like you can't say refs versus a team because the refs aren't out to get a team, as much as, and even from that coming from me, you just got to go with it. Like it's just not your time.
I also wanted to say, Jevin, you and I talked about it last week, how like, or 2 weeks ago when you were talking about the Battle of Alberta, it's like, listen, Calgary, you're already down 3-1 to Edmonton to begin with. Maybe don't put yourself down 3-1 to Edmonton and then blame the refs. Same thing with the Oilers. Maybe don't go 3-0 down to Colorado at home and maybe hold on to your leads throughout the game so you don't have to go to overtime.
I just
Food
realized
for thought.
I haven't talked about this yet, but the Cale Makar goal in game 1.
Yeah.
I haven't talked about this yet. We won't talk about it too long, but like, what are you guys' thoughts on it? Offside or onside?
I
didn't see it. I'm sorry.
I thought it was offside at the time, and then they gave a whole explanation why. And once they gave the explanation, it's like, okay, sure, but like, you never called that beforehand. And
they actually there's
they
been
did okay. So they did. Was it earlier this year or like in years past with McAvoy against the Canucks?
and then Bunting when he was on Arizona like a few years ago.
So like, I guess they have called it before. It just like, you never make that call in real time. You have to have the video evidence to do it, which I guess that's why video replay is there. But sure, okay, fair enough. I mean, that linesman certainly, I'm sure in the moment thought like he fucked up a call. Like I'm sure the linesman at the time was like, shit, I got this wrong. And then they were able to correct it. And I'm sure Makar had no idea about it. I'm sure he thought it was going to get called back, and then they called it good. But
yeah, I understand the explanation of like he pushed it forward and he hadn't touched it until whoever it was cleared. And then as soon as he cleared, he touched it again. So technically it's not offside. Like that is onside. It's just like the whole possession thing. They really need to rephrase the rule book because it's going to like that's going to be brought up next year and like years on. Like it's going to be brought up like they showed a video of McDavid stick handling and warm-ups, and they're like, look at this video of McDavid losing possession like 800 times, but he was just stick handling. And I'm like, I said onside, but man, you bring up a good point. Like the whole possession thing is weird, but like technically he wasn't stick handling when he had the puck. He just pushed it forward, and he hadn't regained stick handling right before. So like technically, like it's just such a gray area, but like he hadn't pushed it forward, hadn't touched it yet. Yeah, I don't know, it's weird.
it's so NHL to have this happen, and even like hardcore hockey fans couldn't really explain it all that well to a casual fan or to a new fan.
Yeah.
Like at least with football and basketball, like the rules are pretty like more or less simple enough that you could explain it to a casual or a new, fan. But with hockey, it's like, well, yeah, it's technically not possession because he didn't technically have it, but like he, got possession again as he entered the zone and somebody else exited. It's just like that's the NHL. That's our favorite league. That's the top hockey league in the world, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the picture of it and just seeing it. That looks so bad. Like he was the other, or his teammate was like clearly on the other side of the blue line. And obviously Makar, like the puck was above his stick, and it's like, yeah, he wasn't touching it, and yeah, he just moved it forward, but it's like, was there anyone pressuring Makar right there? No. So was it him entering the zone? Yeah, I think that's an offside call, personally.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like I was really I think it was onside, but it's just such like if the rule book says if a player brings it in but doesn't touch it when his teammate is in offside position, then that would be much more cut and dry. But the
Oh,
whole
very.
possession aspect really changes like everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hadn't talked about that yet, but I'll just stay on side. But it's just such a it's a weird call to make. It's tough. It's tough.
So, like, if he had held the puck on his stick as he was entering, that would be offsides, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that just like that's so tough. Just because it's an inch and a half above the stick, or however much it is.
Because if you just break it down like this, Kale McCarr like got it and he got the puck and he just pushed it forward and then skated on, didn't like push it forward, but he like pushed it forward with the stick and then hadn't touched it until the guy got onside and then he touched it again. It would have been the same thing if you were stick handling before, let the puck go. It was
Kind of like pass it up a little bit,
like
and
pass
then
it
take
up
it
a
in.
little bit, delay it offside, and then you went in and touched it again. There'd be no problem with it. It was just like how close he was and how fast it happened. It was like a 0.2 second delayed offside. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But it's just the whole possession aspect. People are like, he had possession, so that's all. That's what makes it so complicated. But if you break it down, it no matter how you do it, it's technically the same thing. It's just at different speeds and timing. So that's what makes it complicated. But that's why I stay on side, is because technically he didn't do anything different than McAvoy against the Canucks. It was just at different speeds and stuff. So I don't know. That's my point. But should we move on? Tampa, New York, talk a little bit about the first few games and then get the fuck out of here.
Say it so
Woo!
politely, Jeff.
But
Jeez.
no, so right now we are recording on Tuesday, June 7th, during Tampa New York game 4. Tampa Bay is currently up 3-0. Rangers on the power play, 12:54 left in the third. The Rangers are up 2-1 in the series. Ian, Hayden, did you see this coming? And are you surprised?
I'll say the first two games I did not see coming. I did not see the Rangers, taking a nice Carolina imitation and really putting it to Tampa, almost seeming like how Toronto did, with the first couple of statement games against Tampa. And it was just like, okay, they're coming out swinging, but then, Tampa fought back and clawed back. And this is the first time we've seen Tampa lose back-to-back games since they got
Since
swept.
2019 or 2020.
2017, whenever, yeah, I
can't remember.
2017, my bad. But whenever they got swept, right? So that was very interesting because I listened to Part of My Take and they were all like, oh, everyone should be hammering Tampa right now and betting whatever they have because they're not going to lose this game. And then inevitably they lost, right? And so it's just kind of like, oh, that's kind of funny. But then obviously now it looks like they have a pretty good, strong way of taking game 4. And obviously they took game 3, but I was kind of thinking it was going to go 7 regardless.
Well, you see those the stats, and I was thinking about this, like if Carolina won game 7 against New York.
Oh,
right?
yeah, you're like
right. Carolina doesn't lose at home. Tampa doesn't lose back-to-backs. Carolina wins game 1. Who do you take? the home team or the team that doesn't lose back-to-backs. This one had the same thing. Shesterkin hasn't lost at home this postseason. He was 7-0 prior
Really?
to this series
No
or
shit.
whatever it was. Game 2, who do you take? The goalie who hasn't lost at home or the team who doesn't lose back-to-backs? So it was another thing. It's like both have their upside. And it was just like, I would have gone Tampa just because it's so hard to play as bad as they did in game 1. But man, New York, it was a lot closer, but they've just proven everyone besides New York delusional Rangers fans wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not everyone, but I'd say most people. Ian, what about you? What do you got on this?
Yeah, no, game 2 was like the immovable object versus the unstoppable force, right? Like, how are
Yeah.
you going to pick one of these teams? I've kind of been bandwagoning for the Lightning. I had them like going back to the finals again this year because I just think they're so good. They're that good. And you really have to play your A game 4 times to beat this team.
Yeah.
That's just how good Tampa is. And New York had the opportunity in game 3 to put this team as far down as they possibly could, and the Rangers didn't. Tampa Bay found new life. Looks like, again, they got, game 4 here pretty well wrapped up. But, I mean, that's just the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's just the heart of a champion.
Yeah. They just know how to win.
That they just know how to win. And what's funny with the Lightning too is that I think there is some sort of chip on their shoulder still, because there are people who are like, oh, this isn't they haven't won a real title. And, like, you could make that argument, I guess, but like, this is still the fucking back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, Tampa Bay Lightning. And chances are they're better than your team.
It's
Like,
insane.
Chances
And
are.
they're doing all this without their number 1 center right now.
They're doing this without their number 1 center. They're doing this with the best Russian goalies since probably Vladislav Tretiak. They're doing this with fucking one of the best D-cores in the entire league. They're doing this with a completely new third line, because their third line last year the third line the last 2 years is gone. They're doing it with a new third line, and fucking like this team is still better than your team, probably.
Yeah. It's insane. Like, even like with how good Zibanejad's been playing, like he's the Conn Smythe for New York right now. And it's just Tampa's found a way to just dig themselves out of this hole that they've put themselves in. And it's just like, it's just the series is 2-2 now. Like, not trying to speak too soon, but it's 3-0 and they're on the power play right now. Like, if they win this game, like, you have to ride Tampa, who has all the momentum. Like, this game 5 is so critical, and the winner of game 5s after a tied 2-2 series wins 86% of the time or something like that. So this game 5 is critical. New York's at home, and Tampa, like, it's so hard to bet against this team. But like, I had Tampa in 6, and then I changed it. I probably mushed New York too, knowing myself. Every time I make a tea time, it rains. I mush everything. Hayden knows.
Yep.
I was like, I have a feeling New York's gonna win. Now it's 3-0, and now probably Tampa's going to rattle off 2 straight after this and win in 6. But no, it's New York's in a position where they're ahead of their time right now. They're ahead of their time. Their window isn't really open right now. Like, they're just cracking it open, letting that air in. You know what I'm saying? It's a little too hot.
There's a nice little breeze coming in. It's
exactly.
Yeah.
Nice little gust, right?
Yeah.
And then, but like in 2-3 years' time, that window is wide open, right? So it's just, this series is so interesting, and I don't know what's gonna happen.
What I want to add is that if Tampa beats New York at Madison Square Garden, that's an absolute gut punch for the
Yeah,
Rangers.
100%.
Like losing at the Garden at home in front of those fans, that might be the bigger L than getting eliminated for that Rangers team. Is
Yeah.
losing at the Garden when you've done so well. And Tampa's that team that will do that to you. Tampa's that team that will make you feel bad about yourself for losing at home, losing in that environment. That's why you can't sleep on the Lightning. And not that I think people are sleeping on the Lightning per se, but like that's why you don't bet against Tampa Bay. That's why you don't bet against the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. Now, I could look completely wrong here in the next week or so, and this is going to go on freezing cold takes, which in which case, fair enough. But that's just how much I believe in the Lightning and how confident I am in that team.
Yeah. Does this series go 7 or is it done in 6?
I say 7.
I'll say 7 and the Lightning still win.
That's where I'm kind of leaning.
Yeah, I think this goes 7. I think Tampa wins it.
Okay,
7.
well now it's going 6 and the Rangers win. So
yeah, way to go, guys! We really screwed the pooch on this one, didn't we?
How many possible combinations are there? 4? New York and 6, New York and 7, Tampa 6, Tampa 7. I was gonna say we should all choose one so that none of us can be wrong. But
yeah,
we'll pick 3. We'll pick 3 separate ones, and the 4th one will happen. Listeners will know what to bet on.
Well, whatever we say, it's going to be wrong. That's the key. That's the takeaway from this entire podcast. Whatever we say, it's going to be wrong.
Yeah. So that's that's funny. But Shesterkin's quote, I want to talk about this because I think this is so legendary of him, because Shesterkin's on top of the world right now. He had a career year. It's hard to beat a year that he's had. He almost set records of save percentage. He's up for the Hart and the Vezina. He's gonna win the Vezina. He's probably won't win the Hart, but he carried this team on his back. And after, I think it was a game 1 or game 2 win, I think he said in a quote, he's like, the best goalie in the world is still on Tampa Bay. How legendary of a quote is that?
It's pretty high appraisal, I must say.
I was going to ask if that's a little reverse psychology of trying to get into his opponent's head. I think it's on the surface, it sounds like a really humble quote and a really mature answer of yeah, no, I'm good, but this guy is better. But at the same time, I wonder if he's trying to pull, a little reverse psychology, trying to get Bazzi to overthink a little bit.
Well, I mean, since he said it, he's 0-2, so maybe it's not working.
Maybe it
quite
isn't
in his favor.
Maybe it actually was just Bazzi being yeah, I am better than you, you little piece of shit. I am the better goalie, and don't you forget it.
Vasilevsky did this hypnotist type thing on him, and he's in Igor's kitchen. Basically, whatever Vasi says translates out of Igor's mouth. This whole Russian thing that they got going on.
Yeah, I don't know. That's they I think they mentioned that in Stranger Things Volume 2, those Russians who they take over people's bodies and whatever. I'm sure they mentioned that in the next Stranger Things volume here.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, kudos to Igor. It's not like he, I don't think he's wrong. And I mean, Igor's got another at least 10 great years in him, you would think,
100%.
after how well he's playing. So
yeah, I totally
fair
agree.
enough.
I totally agree with you. All right, should we talk a little bit NBA Finals?
Let's do it. Let's talk NBA Finals.
Let's talk about it quickly here. This has been crazy. Golden State looks like they're taking control of Boston in game 1. They're up by 20 going into the 4th, and then next thing you know, they lose by 12. Boston goes on a 17-0 run and just beat the wheels off Golden State. Game 2 is basically Golden State situation at the end of the third quarter in game one, but then they just keep the pedal to the metal and they beat Boston by 19. Jordan Poole's hitting 39-foot three-pointers. Steph Curry's going off for 36 and doesn't play in the entire fourth quarter. Draymond Green is testing the refs. And should he have gotten kicked out? Probably. But what have been your thoughts on the NBA Finals, boys?
It's been up
I
and down
definitely-
for me.
I was gonna say I definitely turned off game one thinking Golden State was gonna win.
Sound.
It's actually crazy. Like Golden State in the third quarter, I had heard like they're just like a dominant third quarter team, and you
they're
look at like the
unbelievable.
box score, and you're like, "Holy fuck!" And then you think, or then you look at game one, and as much as Golden State's game two, third quarter was, Boston's game one, fourth quarter was absolutely insane. Like they had offense and defense and just absolutely shut everyone down. And I think what crazier stat was like Klay Thompson. What the fuck was game two for him, right? Like the fact that Golden State still won just shows like the resilience that Golden State has. And, you know, like we kind of talked about last week, Jeff, but with Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins, those are some key role players for Golden State. And the veteran presence of Curry, Draymond, and Klay, regardless if Klay's going to still be, you know, good Klay or bad Klay, he's still been there, done that before. So it's truly a toss-up with this series as well. I see this going 6, like I still predicted, and Golden State still comes out on top. Especially now that's going back to Boston. I think they obviously split this, and then Golden State gets it done.
Well, Hayden, you bring up that Klay Thompson thing because it's similar with Boston. Like they still won, and Tatum had like one of his worst shooting performances of the postseason for himself. Like he shot like 3 for 18, and Boston still won. Same thing with Golden State. Klay Thompson doesn't shoot as great as he usually does, but they still find a way to win by a large margin. So this NBA Finals is going to be crazy. Like Golden State's experience is coming in, and like Celtics turnovers in game 2 didn't help that.
No.
But I think Celtics come in a little bit more sharper. I think they split at home, and I still think Celtics take this in 7. I'll still stick with my prediction.
All right.
It's good to stick with you know what you already picked. It, you know, that's an honorable thing to do. I had the Warriors winning before the series because I know Golden State isn't the Golden State team when they were like going to like back to back finals. Like I know Golden State isn't that team still, but I thought Steve Kerr would. I think Steve Kerr is the better coach. I think Golden State is more talented. I'm not surprised that Boston's got this far because Boston of all the teams in the East. I mean, Milwaukee was pretty stable with Giannis, but they didn't have Middleton, of course. But like I thought Boston was a really stable team that just felt safe to bet on with Tatum and Brown and Derek White coming together and Horford. Like Horford just coming out of nowhere with 6 3-pointers in the first game. Like, yeah, sure. We all expected that, didn't we? But I mean, you know, I think the Warriors are the better team overall. I think they have more scoring options, even if Klay isn't Klay like that we know of him. I still think Boston doesn't quite have the same scoring that Golden State was, and Golden State does, and that's why I like the Warriors. But that's just me personally.
Fair enough. But this has been a fun episode, boys. It's been a great time. Ian, where can the people find you?
You can check out the Speak Your Piece podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We have a YouTube channel. You can check us out there. You can follow us on Instagram at SYP Pod. We do have a Twitter account at SYP Pod. I'm mostly myself just doing my own freelance thing. I've been writing a bunch of articles lately, so go read some of the stuff that I've been writing. I think it's good, but nobody said otherwise, so I'm just going to assume it's still good. Basically, Scott, my recurring host, He's gone this week, so he's unavailable. So maybe I'll get one of you boys actually to step in, and maybe we'll do something on my podcast since Scott's not around. He's in Kelowna for doing his grad week at UBCO, so he has better things to do than to come on some, podcast talking about mostly hockey. So maybe we'll do something. But yeah, that's where you can check us out. That's where you can find our stuff. Speakyourpiece.ca is where you can check out my articles. And any support is greatly appreciated. I'm pretty humble. I'll just take whatever I can get.
Yeah, we'll see about that guest appearance because Hayden might have to do it because I'm in a Soyuz this weekend.
Oh shit.
Going on a boys trip, a golf trip with some playing 5 rounds from Thursday to Sunday.
What
Jesus.
the fuck? Are you double rounding Saturday?
Friday.
Ooh.
The only day it's supposed to rain in a Soyuz.
Nice. Let's go.
Yeah, but some of my buddies, I was a fill-in for someone, but I'll still take it.
Oh fuck. You're option
Yeah.
number 1 after option number 1A couldn't.
I was
fulfill it.
I was asked to come on before there was even a guarantee of me having a spot. So that's how you know I was at the right place at the right time. Let's
You were
just say
thought of first, number
Yeah.
2.
I went golfing with the right people at the right time. So, but no, I'm excited about that. But Hayden, where can the people find you?
On Instagram and Twitter, at Hayden_Barton. And boys, I just want to say one thing, but kind of like 2 things. Jev, I know for the past couple of weeks, it was kind of like a really, really hard time with people passing away. I just want to make sure that we give respect because Jeff Gladney, former NFL first-round pick, dies at age 25.
Yeah.
Super, super young, super tragic. Great teammate of Jalen Reagor, as I have seen. And then probably, I don't know if you two remember this, but a little speedster guy named last name Barber. Jeff, I'm blanking on his first name right now, which is really bad. Marion Barber.
Marion Barber.
Probably the best 2-yard run play that I've ever seen in the NFL ever. But he died as well at 38, which is also super, super sad. And condolences go out to each of their families.
Yeah, it's tragic to see people go that young. It's just not fair. Life's not fair. So condolences to the family and friends of both parties. But you can find everything for the show on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at @leftsideheavy_. Follow me on Instagram at Jevin.Lefave and on Twitter at JevinLefave, and head over to the YouTube if you want to watch any of our episodes instead of listen. But you can find us anywhere you get your podcast as well. Leave a rating and review. It really helps grow the show. And we will see you guys next time. Peace.